Welcome back to the Dynasty Rewind YouTube channel. I'm Bob Van, the IDP man, here with my man, Matty Big Chest. We're here to talk about the top 5 rookie running backs in this class, get into our consensus rankings, and kind of talk situational awareness and how we think they're going to do. How are you doing tonight, Matty Big Chest?
Dude, I'm doing good. It's a Monday. I'm doing some graphic design work for some people. You can hit me up on Twitter if you need it. I make some cool overlays like this one where we're rocking in for the Dynasty Rewind. But yeah, man, I'm ready to talk running backs. There's not a whole lot outside of the top 5 that are going to be fantasy relevant. Not everyone in the top 5 is going to be fantasy relevant for a long time. So we're going to break that down for you guys and give our honest opinion on these running backs. This is straight from our mouths, not like a filtered take where we're trying to give you guys some narrative, trying to win our leagues. But no, this is our honest opinion. So I hope you guys find this helping, and leave a comment what your opinion on our takes was and how you feel. So with that being said, let's jump into our running back one. And I think it's most people's running back one, and that's Naji Harris out of Alabama. This guy just looks the part. He's a man. That's all you can say. He's a man among children when you watch the Alabama tape. Really nothing else you can say there. He averaged what? He had 1,466 rushing yards in his final year at Alabama in 13 games. So, 30 total touchdowns, just insane production. He had 425 receiving yards, 13.4% target share. So Naji Harris produced a lot in his senior year, had a pretty good target share in that backfield, can show that he's a receiver. He's been working out as the X receiver in the rookie mini camps for the Steelers, which is a little weird, but when a reporter asked about it, he said, "I can catch, man." And it was pretty funny. He roasted the reporter and he said, "I can catch." But yeah, I like Naji Harris, man. He's got swagger, he's got the attitude, and he has the running style to back it up. What do you think about Naji Harris? And his year 101 in a one quarterback league?
I lean that way. I've been at the 101, not because I suck, because I trade for these picks. But I've been at the 101 and I think 3 one quarterback leagues. I took Najee twice and I took Jamar Chase once. And that was just kind of, I didn't have a share of Chase anywhere else and I wanted one. So, but no, man, I love Najee as a prospect. The only real knock on him, I think, is that he, waited a year to come out. He's a 23-year-old running back. So there's the argument there's going to be a little more tread on the tires. He's going to fall off sooner rather than later. But at the end of the day, I think he is supremely more talented than most of the running backs in this class, especially as a bruiser. He's a big body, still explosive, quick. He doesn't have that super long breakaway speed, but most of the running backs' statistical damage is within 20 yards of the line of scrimmage anyway. But again, I like his landing spot because he's going to a place where there's zero competition for touches. There's Benny Sell, there's Anthony McFarland, there Jalen Samuels if you want to get cute. But again,
He's a tight end.
Right.
I wanted to get cute there. But yeah, I think that Najee Harris's opportunity is so great, and what you said, if I had to compare him to a pro player, which I did back in January when I made scouting reports on all these guys, Najee Harris compared to Matt Forte for me, and I saw that comparison a lot on draft day when he was drafted to the Steelers. And I like that one. He's a good receiver. Matt Forte had pretty good hands for a big back, and he was pretty swift for a big back too. And that's what Najee Harris is. He's not fast, but he'll beat you with his feet if he needs to. He is pretty good instant burst, if that makes sense. Like he just picks up speed right away when he hits it, when he starts running.
Explosive.
So yeah, very very explosive. Right on his first step, he's gonna hit you. So I like Najee Harris. He landed in the perfect spot. Pittsburgh just reaching on a running back is perfect. And Najee Harris is the perfect running back to reach on if you're going to reach on one. So I think that landing spot's just prime. But yeah, not much to say about Najee, kind of like Trevor Lawrence last episode. But when we get into the other running backs, it's going to be a little more interesting. Key indicator for Najee Harris was that he had an over 30% college dominator rating, so that's a pretty good analytic that he hit. That's a check mark next to that checkbox. So, and he has a BMI of 30.6, so he's a big boy. And Yeah, I like my running backs a little bigger. Deandre Swift is one of my favorite running backs. He's 5'9", but he's like 220 pounds. So he's got some weight to him. But yeah, he's got Naji Harris is 6'1", 232 pounds. He's my consensus. I think he's the Dynasty Rewind's consensus RB1. I can say that because I know he
Yeah.
is. So yeah, draft Naji Harris with confidence. We're moving into our next running back, and that's our RB2, and it's Travis Etienne. Travis Etienne went in the first round right after Najee Harris did, so they went back to back picks. This guy is 5'10", 215 pounds. He's built kind of like Jamal Charles was. Just a very he's like a speed back with some power to him, but not so much power. He's more so gonna make you slip off tackles and make you miss. But he had the ACC, I think, rushing yard leader. He's a rushing yard leader in the ACC all time. So there's that going for him. He played at Clemson all 4 years. He played 13 games, 15 games, 15 games, and 12 games. He had well over 4,000 yards rushing in his career, and they have five. He had his lowest yards per carry in his senior year, but he still improved as a pass catcher, which was huge, going from a 7.5% target share to a 12.2% target share in his last year. And he had only 5.4 yards per carry. I say that as only. He's still at over 5 yards per carry, and that's without Trevor Lawrence some games. So you have to take that into account as well. He had 16 total touchdowns in his final year playing. Najee Harris, I believe, had 30. So look at you look at that. Najee Harris is a really good red zone back, and Travis Etienne, just I don't know if it was Clemson just having Trevor Lawrence, or if it's just because Mac Jones is not the rushing threat that Trevor Lawrence is, but Travis Etienne had 26 touchdowns in his sophomore season, so he can definitely produce at an elite level for his touchdowns. But I like Travis Etienne. This was my RB1 going into the draft. He's now my RB2 based on landing spot. I'm not the biggest fan of Urban Meyer as a coach in the NFL, but I do like it. I like that he's working as a wide receiver too. So, what are your thoughts on him working as a wide receiver, Bob? And where do you have Travis Etienne in your rankings?
So I believe I have him as my RB3. I'd have to double check that. But I like the wide receiver work that he's getting. There was that quote that came out, not too long ago about him being, afraid of the ball or whatever when it was coming at him. And I think, that's kind of that roughneck, brute force head coach mentality that I think Urban Meyer has, where it's like, oh, well, you don't like getting thrown at? We're going to throw at you every day. And I think that's kind of a way to try to bust that up and get him more used to catching the ball, even though I think he proved that as his final year, like you mentioned. But just to really make sure, like, dude, you're going to get thrown the ball. It's going to happen. Get used to it. Be a great catcher. Be great. I think he has really good hands. It's just a matter of, maybe that confidence needs to be there a little more. But in terms of landing spot, it sure didn't take long for the NFL draft gods to really break the hearts of fantasy players. Going to a place that already had an established running back in James Robinson, arguably established. That's going to be an interesting situation to see play out. Personally, they right away they came out and said that Etienne's going to be the third down receiving work back or whatever, which didn't really make sense with his college profile, how he played in college and all that stuff. And you don't draft a third down back in the first round if he's only going to play third down. I could still see Robinson getting work, but I feel like that leash is going to be so short. It's an entirely new coaching staff coming in. The previous coaching staff was the one that really loved James Robinson right off the rip and wanted to give him work. So there's little to no allegiance there between coaches and the player. They saw what he did last year on the field, but not seeing that up front and in person, very different story. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Personally, I could see James Robinson getting phased out pretty quickly, especially with Trevor Lawrence and Etienne obviously having a relationship already. So for me, I like Etienne, but I am concerned how much work he gets right away. Again, he's a first-round running back. They usually get thrown to the fire quickly. I have a couple shares here and there, but what do you think about that situation with him and James Robinson? I know you traded away a James Robinson share today.
Yeah, I like James Robinson a lot. I think he's still going to produce at a high value. To be fair, I told that owner that if he did not trade for him now, I was going to hold him ransom for a second round pick during the season. So it was a little bit of trade tactic there just to get him off my roster so that I can drop some players after the draft. I have a pretty decent roster for value in that team, so I didn't want to drop anyone. But James Robinson, he's going to be the running back, I think, for first and second downs in Jacksonville till their bye week at least. I think if not for the whole season. But Travis Etienne for 2021, I think he's be like Deandre Swift. Was his rookie year, about like 500 something yards rushing, 300 to 400 yards receiving. He might have more receiving yards because if he's playing wide receiver, then he will. But Travis Etienne is going to be a running back to own for 2022, and I'm saying that now. He's going to be a workhorse. He's going to be an every down back. He's going to be a good pass catcher. He's going to be worked like Le'Veon Bell was at Pittsburgh. I think that he's a very capable runner. Showed it in college. Has really good numbers, and he. I think that him working as a wide receiver is really going to help his route running because in college it wasn't great. Had a little bit of sloppy footwork. He can clean that up really quickly in the NFL, especially with positional coaches working with him. And I like it a lot, man. I love Travis Etienne landing in Jacksonville with Trevor Lawrence. I think it's a good landing spot for the future. Not good for James Robinson because Travis Etienne is that talented. But yeah, I'm buying Travis Etienne as soon as his value dips in the season.
That's a good strategy, I'd say. So, unless you had anything else, I think we'll move right on to Javonte Williams. And
Yeah, this guy's built like a brick house, man. If you're
yeah,
looking for a Marshawn Lynch type back, it's Javonte. Quickly before I go on to anything, you watched a lot of Michael Carter and you liked him. So what did you see when you watched Michael Carter and Javonte Williams when
so
they split reps?
this was this was nearly the same intrigue level that like Nick Chubb and Sony Michelle had when they were coming out. Obviously, those two careers haven't panned out quite the same. But I fell in love with Michael Carter when I was watching Javonte Williams film, as odd as that was. What I did notice a lot of the times, and this isn't a knock on Williams at all. He's a great player. I like him a lot too. He is my RB2. I just confirmed. So this isn't a knock on him at all. But what I noticed would happen very regularly is that Michael Carter would get within the 10-yard line, and then it's like, all right, get out of here. It's Javonte time. And Javonte would come in and, have his little 6-yard scamper into the end zone, a 5-yard scamper, goal line run in the end zone, whatever it was. Um, I did the math, and he had over 10 of his touchdowns in his final season were within the 6-yard line. So, which isn't a knock on production because they have to trust you to give you the ball there. Touchdowns are not directly correlated to success in the NFL, but it is a benchmark for having a higher likelihood to succeed in the NFL. But when I watch Williams, man, the dude, his contact balance, he's shifty, he's quick. Neither him or Carter are really the guys that are going to go 60 yards, like no problem. They both did it, but they don't quite have the long speed or the long endurance to be able to make those really long runs. But again, who cares? Those are big splash plays. Again, most RB production is within the first 20 yards of line of scrimmage. But again, like I said, the contact balance really showed for me. He'll bop you and knock you down and just keep trucking along. And he's you nailed it. He's built like a brick. He'll hit you and he'll hit you good. He's quick, shifty. Like I said, he's very sneaky down there at the line of scrimmage. That's why he had so many of these touchdowns and so many of these carries down there. And then I'll touch on the rest of Michael Carter when we get to him.
Yeah, Javonte Williams, man. He averaged 5.6 yards per carry his sophomore year in North Carolina. In his junior year, he increased that to 7.3 yards per carry. He had his breakout year, his final year at UNC, and he had 22 total touchdowns in that year. So 10 of his touchdowns came within the 6-yard line. That's pretty impressive to me that he has the vision to be able to run between the tackles that well at the goal line. He had 30 total targets and he converted 25 of them into receptions for 305 yards. So that's pretty good receiving. Not a lot of opportunity because they did have Michael Carter, like we said earlier. That tandem was very deadly, similar to Nick Chubb and Sony Michelle. But yeah, North Carolina produced two really good running backs, and Javonte Williams is one of them. I love the Denver landing spot. I think that Melvin Gordon is going to get replaced pretty early on.
Yep.
You don't draft a running back that high to keep on the bench unless you're the Detroit Lions. But yeah, man, not much else to say on Javonte Williams. He's my RB3. He was my RB2 prior to the he was my RB3 officially before the draft. But at one point I did have him as my RB2 ahead of Travis Etienne, but that changed after I rewatched. But yeah, Javonte Williams is very borderline RB2, RB3 for me. Very explosive, very violent, and he's like a linebacker playing running back, so I like him. But yeah, let's go on to our next running back, and that's the RB4 in this class, and that's our RB4, which is Trey Sermon.
Yep.
You might not agree with it, but
Nope,
it is
that's where I got him.
post draft. So he's a outstanding trap running back, if that makes sense. He runs trap schemes very well, where they pull a guard and he reads the guard to run behind. Insane burst. When we talk about the burst that Travis Etienne and Naji Harris have, Trey Sermon has the best burst in the class, the best short area quickness. He can get up to his top speed, which is not very fast, but he gets up there instantly. Like that's why he's so good at the trap game. He's just able to shoot out of a cannon. I think that's why San Francisco liked him so much. I love that landing spot for him. He's going to have competition for touches, but if Shanahan uses the running back similar to Alfred Morris, then I think that Trey Sermon will have a good amount of touches, or like Carlos Hyde even. Coming out of Ohio State, transferred from Oklahoma, he had a pretty good year at Ohio State, having a breakout year. He had 870 yards rushing on 116 attempts, averaging 7.5 yards per carry. Only had 4 total touchdowns. But, that's okay because he was a beast when it came time in the playoffs and the Big Ten championship game, just destroying Northwestern and running all over them. It was fun to watch. He had over 300 yards in that game. If you haven't watched it yet, go catch the highlights on YouTube. It's a fun watch. Trey Sermon just went bananas on him. This guy is not the fastest, like we said. He does not have good top-end speed. He's more like Carlos Hyde, where he's just going to burn you in the short area and get to the next level before he gets tackled. So he'll get you 8 to 10 yards, but don't expect him to go for 25 plus yards every time he breaks one. So that's all I have to say on Trey Sermon. So I'm going to throw it over to you now. What's your favorite thing about the landing spot for you? And then what are your notes on Trey Sermon?
So I love the landing spot. Like you mentioned, he's a great trap running back. Can really thrive in that scheme, in my opinion. Not a burner, touched on that as well. I think he's going to have a lot of opportunity. I think he could be a major running back trap for us. Might not be what we want him to be, but at the end of the day, he's in a great offense. He's worth taking a stab on, especially as kind of a value pick. He's hovering around like the late first, early second. And running backs in that area, that's kind of what you're dealing with. You're dealing with risk. You're not going to get a guy. You're not going to get a Naji at the back of the first round unless it's 2 quarterback, 10 team, something crazy. Everybody hates Pittsburgh and Naji Harris. But back to the situation, they've never drafted a running back that high. The running back room right now is Jeff Wilson, Raheem Mostert. I think Jerick McKinnon's out there, but I think he's requesting a trade.
He went to Kansas City.
Okay, yeah, so good call there. But that running back room is pretty open for competition, if you ask me. And especially Shanahan's never really had a running back of this caliber, in my opinion. And the way he's used running backs in the past has been very inconsistent, so it's a concern. However, a lot of the running backs have just been hurt, injured, so they're not used constantly. They're not in practices. They're not, being used consistently to where they can get in a rhythm with the O-line. They can get in a rhythm with the game themselves. So I think that if he can weather the storm of injuries himself and, kind of stake his claim to that running back room, he could be if he's the RB1 there and he's getting even like 70% of the touches back there, I think that's an RB2 at worst, I think. And if you're getting that at the back end of your rookie drafts, or at the back end of the first round of your rookie drafts, I should say, or the top of the second even, that's going to be an amazing value for you. Somebody you can start or flex on a weekly basis. And for notes, I didn't have a ton on him that we haven't touched on. Like I said, the injury concerns is one thing. But outside of that, I think he's a kind of a bruiser runner, not a lot of top end speed. But and like I said, he runs the trap game really well. But did you have anything else to touch on good old Trey?
No, you did say that he was good value, and I agree with that. Getting him at the 201 is luxury in a two quarterback league. So with that being said, Michael Carter, who I see go usually right after Trey Sermon, is our running back 5. And our last running back of actual actually to note of in this class, because none of them really after this are going to be worth my time, honestly, in Dynasty leagues. I'm not going to be drafting them unless it's Elijah Mitchell or Jared Dokes really late. I won't be touching them. So those are 2 names for you guys to look at that we won't be talking about, Elijah Mitchell and Jared Dokes. But yeah, 5'8", 201 pounds, out of UNC. He's got good weight for his size. He's a BMI of over 30. He's 22 years old. He was picked in the 4th round to a team with Tevin Coleman as their running back 1. So I think that Michael Carter is going to be the starter. I think that he's going to get the most work. I don't trust Tevin Coleman to be the running back there. So he had a breakout year his freshman year, and he just continued to excel. 559 yards as a freshman, 597 yards as a sophomore, 1,000 yards as a junior, 1,245 yards as a senior. Yeah, it just goes up, man. So that's what you like to see, singular raising the bar. And his touchdowns, he had 11 touchdowns as a senior. That's nice to see. Taking touchdowns away from Javonte, obviously. But, he had 25 receptions on 30 targets as well. So, who had that was Javonte Williams. So if you combine them, they're a monster, 50 receptions on 60 targets. But yeah, he had 267 receiving yards. So he did a good job as a running back. UNC passed the running backs a lot. They had a 16.8% target share total. So that's pretty good for a running back, man. Michael Carter on the Jets, I like that a lot. Not much else I can say about it. He's a good runner, a good physical squatty back. He squats a lot. Like, I don't know. He runs like he's squatting. It looks funny, but I love Michael Carter.
Yep, I think anybody who follows me knows I am also a big fan of Michael Carter. Um, and for you to leave out LaMichael Pirine like that is just slanderous. Mike is gonna have your head, man. No, man,
We don't talk about him here.
I'm kind of with you though on Coleman. I don't think he has a single shot to really be the RB1 there. I think it comes down to more likely being a committee with a competition with Carter and Pirine. I think they can kind of complement each other. The one thing that people, say a lot about Carter is that he's just a receiving back. And it's like, well, no, if you actually look at stats, he's a better runner than a receiver. And the one thing about Javonte Williams that people will say is that he's a better runner than a receiver. And he actually does a lot in the receiving game too. But it's just kind of, funny how narratives work. But Michael Carter, man, I think, he's as strong as can be for his size. He doesn't look that small on the field. He hits people. He hits them hard. No injury history to note. And like I said, he's a good catcher of the ball. He's not elite by any stretch, but he can do damage in that part of the game. And it'll be interesting to see how he implements that, now in New York with Zach Wilson and in that new offense, what that ends up looking like. But I mean, there's a good chance that he takes over and maybe he's the guy. 4th round picks doesn't happen a lot, but there's a chance. But there's also just as good, if not better, of a chance that they go draft their real RB1 next year. Whoever that may be. But for right now, I really like Michael Carter. I'm happy to take a stab at him. If I like him as a stab at in the early second, if I can, as opposed to I would take Trey Sermon over him more often than not. I sadly don't have a ton of Michael Carter shares because of that mindset. But that's okay. Like I said, I think he's got a shot. But again, it's in that offense, if he's the RB1 in that offense, I don't think it's a high-powered offense. So it's like maybe he's an RB3 on the year at best, you think? Maybe?
I mean, yeah, he has a chance to be an RB2, I think, if he can get a majority of the snaps. But I think with Pirine there, he'll probably average about 40% of the snaps with a committee. So I think an RB3 would be reasonable. And I think that the Jets, honestly, are going to have a pretty decent offense with Zach Wilson at the helm. They invested in their offensive line last year by drafting the tackle out of Louisville.
Mekhi
Everyone
Becton.
loved the big guy, Mekhi Becton. Yeah, he developed really well and blossomed nicely his rookie year. So I think that Zach Wilson's going to walk into a nice offensive line with Michael Carter, Denzel Mims, Elijah Moore, and Corey Davis on the outside. So I think that they're going to be a good offense. I think Michael Carter's going to benefit from having those good wide receivers, those tall ones that can block. So Michael Carter reminds me of a little bit of a juiced up Devin Singletary. Powerful. He's more of a runner than Tariq Cohen. So if you're going to compare him to a small running back, don't comp him to Tariq Cohen. I think he's more of a Devin Singletary. So yeah, that's all I have on Michael Carter. But yeah, anything else you want to add on your guy?
Yeah, man. Like I said, if you can get him at the top of the second, that's where I like to have him. I don't know. I guess I'm cautiously pessimistic about that New York offense, at least in year one. They did do a good job adding weapons and actually building around, their hopeful future quarterback in Zach Wilson, adding to the line. 2 stud O linemen added to an offensive line really does damage. I mean, that's, Mekhi Becton is a guy who will move people. Vera Tucker is another mauler who will move people and play through the entire play and get people on the ground if needed. And that will bode well for Michael Carter so long as he's able to obtain a role, which in that offense, he should easily be able to do, at least, get a chance at some work. Being a 4th round pick, you never know, but it was kind of a wacky draft for offensive players, and it seemed like, they went really high to start with, and then everybody just slid after that. And I don't know if that's just because everybody went really fast, and then it's just maybe. And this is kind of how I now see it in drafts, is in one quarterback leagues outside of the top 5, outside of Naji, Etienne, Williams, Pitts, and Chase, yeah, Sermon.
It's stinky.
It's not nearly as
nearly
as exciting.
It's not flashy like years past, and it's not going to be flashy like 2022 is.
Yeah, and I think I wonder if the NFL kind of felt that same way, where it's let's go attack position, non-skill position, let's go get defense and let's go get offensive linemen, because a lot of offensive linemen went in this draft. A lot. I don't know if it was more than usual, but it was definitely a high amount. But man, I think that is it for Michael Carter. And then for any of the other running backs, they will be covered on our Patreon at patreon.com/Dynasty Rewind. Otherwise, that's all from me today. Matty, what do you got?
I'm signing out, man. That's it from me. Follow me on Twitter at Matty Big Chest. But yeah, man. Great talking with you. We'll be back next week with our wide receiver breakdown of the top 5. And thanks for tuning in, guys. So be kind, please rewind.
Thanks for listening to the Dynasty Rewind. Please make sure you subscribe, rate, and review. And as always, be kind, please rewind.